We think we live in buildings. We wake up inside walls, work under ceilings, and walk on floors. We treat architecture like a passive container for our lives, a static stage set where the drama of human existence plays out. But this is a comfortable lie. The truth is far more unsettling. We don't inhabit buildings. They inhabit us. There is a phenomenon known in elite circles of architectural study as the architectus phantom. It's a leftover consciousness of the creator, embedded in the geometry, the light, and the very material of a structure. When a building gets ambitious enough, when it stops being just shelter and becomes a philosophical statement, it starts to actively warp the reality of those who enter it. It messes with our perception of time, changes our emotional state, and steers our thoughts like a river guided by concrete banks. To understand this ghostly influence, we need to visit two very different places on the globe, two temples of human will that are total opposites, yet achieve the same terrifying goal: restructuring the human mind. We're going to the brutalist concrete sun of Chandigarh, India, and the melting, organic stone of Barcelona, Spain. In the foothills of the Himalayas, Le Corbusier, a pioneer of modernism, wanted to create a city free from the chaos of history. He built the capital complex of Chandigarh. Stepping onto the plaza of the High Court isn't like entering a city center. It's like stepping onto the surface of another planet. The scale is deliberately anti-human. Huge expanses of concrete pavement bake under the Indian sun, making you feel microscopic, insignificant. This was the Phantom's first trick, deeming by shrinking you. Le Corbusier forces a surrender. You're no longer an individual with your own little problems. You're a tiny speck in the giant machine of the state and the cosmos. The buildings here are raw, beton, brute and finished concrete that still shows the grain of the wooden molds. They feel ancient and futuristic at the same time. But the real manipulation is in the Tower of Shadows. This is a building with no purpose other than to play with light. It's a machine for tracking the sun. As you walk through its grid, the Phantom warps your sense of time. Here, time isn't measured in seconds or minutes, but in the slow, heavy movement of massive shadows across gray walls. The architect forces you to breathe in sync with the sun. Visitors often talk about a feeling of heavy silence, even when the wind blows or people are talking. The massive concrete fins dampen the sound, creating a kind of psychological vacuum. The building forces you to empty your mind. It's an aggressive, masculine architecture that demands order. It makes you stand up straighter. The reality here is hard, fixed, and undeniable. Now, if Chandigarh is about imposing order on chaos, the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona reveals that chaos is just a higher form of order. Antoni Gaudí didn't build a cathedral. He grew one. As you approach the Nativity facade, the reality warping effect hits you immediately. The stone looks like it's melting, dripping like wet sand or candle wax. There are no straight lines here. Gaudí's Phantom hated them, famously saying, "The straight line belongs to men, the curved one to God." When you enter the main nave, the manipulation of space takes over. In Chandigarh, space was an empty void to cross. In the Sagrada Familia, space is a substance you swim through. The columns don't look like pillars. They look like trees, twisting as they rise, and branching out to hold up a ceiling that looks like a forest canopy. Here, the architect's Phantom changes your perception of gravity. The incredible height should make you dizzy, but the fractal geometries, mathematical patterns you find in nature, in ferns and crystals and bones, creates a sense of biological safety. You feel held by the building, not crushed by it. But the most profound warping happens with light. Gaudí painted with the sun. The stained glass windows transform the harsh white light of reality into a spectral bath. On the east, you get cool blues and greens, representing sunrise and birth. On the west, fiery reds and oranges, for sunset and death. Standing in the center, you're not just looking at colored walls. You are standing inside the color itself. The reality distortion here is all about fluidity. The building has been under construction for over 140 years. It exists in a state of forever becoming. It blurs the line between finished and unfinished, living and dead. To stand inside is to feel that the building is breathing a slow, geological breath. It reshapes your mind to accept mystery, to find comfort in the unknown, and to see the divine not as a distant judge, but as an ever-present, organic force. So how do these structures pull off this phantom effect? The science is in something called neuro-architecture. Most modern buildings' office blocks, strip malls are cognitively invisible. They're predictable. Our brains just gloss over them to save energy. We'd only see asterisks of Walmart. We just recognized the pattern, but monumental architecture shatters this pattern recognition. The Capitol complex and the Sagrada Familia introduce novelty on a scale that forces the brain to switch off autopilot. When your brain encounters Gaudí's mind-bending curves or Le Corbusier's massive geometric voids, it enters a state of hyperarousal. The phantom quiets your ego by overwhelming it with uniformity. In Barcelona, the fractals and nature-mimicking shapes triggered the brain's biophilia response. Even though it's stone, your brain reads it as nature. This lowers stress hormones while simultaneously stimulating your visual cortex. The phantom seduces your ego into dissolving into the environment. The architect's phantom is basically a hack of the human operating system. There is one final, ghostly element that both buildings share: the manipulation of memory. We usually remember events based on the who and the what. But inside these reality-warping structures, the where overpowers everything else. Interviews with visitors often reveal a strange kind of amnesia about the details of that visit. They might forget the conversation they had or what they ate for lunch, but they remember with terrifying clarity the texture of the stone or the angle of a shadow. The building imprints itself onto your hippocampus, overriding your personal story. You become a carrier of the building. When you leave, you take the phantom with you. A person who spends an hour in the silence of Le Corbusier's concrete walks out differently. They see the city streets as cluttered, the noise as offensive. They carry the blueprint of order in their mind, judging reality against the stark perfection they just witnessed. A person leaving the Sagrada Familia walks out seeing patterns in the chaos. They notice the curve of a tree branch, the light filtering through leaves. They carry the blueprint of harmony. We look at the skyline of our modern city's glass towers, functional boxers, efficient apartments, and we feel a vague sense of unease. It's because these buildings have no phantom. They contain no intention, no philosophy, no desire to reshape the soul. They are dead matter. But the monuments remain. They stand as proof of the terrifying power of architecture. They prove that reality isn't a fixed stage, but a pliable clay. Le Corbusier and Gaudí are long dead. Their bodies have turned to dust, but their phantoms remain, trapped in stone and concrete, waiting for you to step through the door. And once you do, once you surrender your perception to their geometry, you realize the chilling truth. You are no longer the thinker. You are the thought. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey as fascinating as I did, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more explorations into the hidden structures of our world. See you next time.